And you might notice that there's a little bit of a gap here in your bind off, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. Go ahead and cut your tail with a length long enough to weave in your ends, and then you can just take your right hand needle and pull that stitch all the way out. Don't worry, it's not going to unravel. So if you'll notice, between where your tail yarn is attached and the beginning of that knit column next to it, there's a bit of a dip and a gap, and we want to get rid of that. It's more noticeable from the back side of your work here. This part's not necessary, but I find it just gives a much neater finish to your project. So basically what we're going to be doing is creating a fake stitch that joins the beginning of your bind off to the end of your bind off, so that you can kind of bridge that gap and make it look really neat. So if you look at the top of your bind off here, you can see that it looks like knit stitches. They're just sideways. So if you tilt your head a little bit, you can see the V's. Okay, there's a left side and a right side, a left leg or a right leg, and I can take my yarn needle and kind of show you each one. It's a little bit tricky once you get to the first one you bound off, because one of the legs actually belongs to your knit stitch and just kind of got pulled up a little bit. So what I like to do is go in a few stitches and find each bind off stitch. So there's one, and this is confusing because this one looks like it has 3 legs to it. Okay, instead of just looking like a V, it has 2 right legs. So the one closest to my right side, this one right here, that's not it. That is actually the right leg to your knit stitch, because if you pull on it and you look down, it's connected to that stitch here. It's the right leg of that one. It just kind of got pulled up in the bind off process. That's not the one you want. The one you want is above it. Okay, so instead of having 3 legs at the bottom, you just find the correct one here. If you put it in the knit stitch, it's not really going to matter that much. It'll still look a lot neater, but hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer. So that first V, now that we've figured out which one it is, you're going to take your yarn needle and you're going to go into it from front to back. Okay, you know how we went under both legs of it? Go under both legs from front to back, and you can go ahead and pull your yarn through. Now you don't want to pull it completely tight. You want to leave a little bit of yarn that is about the same length as all of your other bind off stitches, because remember, we're trying to mimic the bind off stitch. If it's too tight, you just pull it out a little bit and you can correct that tension. Okay, so that looks about the same as all the other ones to me. So now you look at your last bound off stitch, which I have here. This is the yarn that we just created. So this is our last bound off stitch here. Okay, you see both legs of it. It's a little bit tiny from being pulled a little bit too tight, but you can kind of see how it has 2 legs here. So we're actually going to go into the middle. We're going to go down in the middle of it. Okay, so from top to bottom, kind of go down into it and stick out the back side. You are essentially picking up the back loop of it. Okay, if it helps you to think about it, it's like picking up the back loop of it. So go down through it and pull your yarn through. So you should have just created a fake stitch in between them right here. And it looks exactly the same from this perspective as all the others. So now all you need to do is weave in your ends on the wrong side of your work, and it should be nearly invisible. So there's a little bit of like a loose stitch here that can tend to happen. That's okay, but you see how we fixed that divot? It no longer has that dip in the bind off. We can go ahead and weave in our ends and it should be invisible.